This episode of the Rainbow Brainskull Hour podcast is brought to you by Comedy Central's Corporate. If you go to comedycentral.com or your TV or your phone, you can just find shows. If you go to search Comedy Central Corporate, they're not paying me for this ad. I'm just doing it because I like the show. My guest is one of the creators. I like doing sponsor reads. I don't have sponsors yet, so I figured why not be a good boy, help out my friend by blasting this out to my 700,000 listeners, right? Right? Stalin on the intro. My guest today is comedian and co-creator and co-star of Comedy Central's Corporate. Please enjoy Matt Ingebretson. It's a good one. Hit it! Welcome to the Rainbow Brainskull Hour. You're gonna have a good real time today. Every week there's a new guest, so that you'll learn something new. 'Cause that's all that we're here to do. Oh yeah, now we're in actual business. Does that sound okay?
Oh yeah, hang on.
I think so. Oh, you can take care of whatever thing you need to take care of. I'm not.
I was doing absolutely nothing.
Oh. The fake phone check?
Yeah,
move?
just like, oh, I'm addicted to this.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just looking at it for no reason at all.
Do you get anything out of it ever anymore?
It's pretty dry at this point. It's like...
How many years have we been addicted to these things? How long? It's been a decade of us staring at them.
Yeah, I think... When did the iPhone come out?
2007.
So a decade, yeah.
Yeah,
And it doesn't help me anymore. Or like there are practical things that, like the maps. I need the maps.
I rely completely on maps.
I've forgotten. I can't get around even basic things that I even know. I sometimes still map it.
Yeah, and phone numbers too.
Yeah.
Remember like two people's phone numbers, tops.
I just don't memorize things anymore.
Me neither.
Do you do that?
I can't remember the last time I did. Maybe for a moment, or you pretend to when someone's telling you your account confirmation number on the phone. You have to remember it a little bit. But then after that, no. Okay, so how do we get into this thing? Or maybe we'll leave this beginning part in. Just do it. I've actually, every single episode so far, I think I've referenced Mark Maron and called it Mark Maron style. So I'll just say it this time. It's also going to be Mark Maron style. So you have the best show on television.
Thanks,
right now.
Ramin.
Do you feel like you have the best show on television?
I don't know. I feel like it would be. I can't say that, but yes, I do.
Yeah. What's better than it? Name something else, and I'll give it the trophy.
How about? Well, this is not on TV right now, but I'm watching The Sopranos for the first time. I think The Sopranos is probably better than it.
Okay, I missed that one. Okay, let's take drama off the board.
Okay, drama off the board. I don't really even know what's on TV right now. What else are you watching on TV right now?
Orville. I know that probably doesn't make you feel good that I only you're showing Orville and yours is the best show. But what are I feel like you found the perfect. Not that it's going to induce permanent happiness, but it's a show on an actual network, not on Facebook Tide Live or something. Right. It's on an actual network, and it deals with corporations, which opens the doors up for places like Google and other places that would bring you and Jake in to be, which they have, I think, right? They brought you in to do a set, or what did they bring you in to do?
They brought us in to like do a Q&A, basically.
And you just got to be like funny, like Beatles style, and be cheeky with them about their stupid jobs.
Yeah, we yelled at them about their jobs.
And their stupid creative room or campus or whatever they have.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I mean, the show is about being miserable at work, and you go talk to people, and they're like, it's true.
Yeah, you did that on, I watched your Seth Meyers appearance with Jake, and you pretty much, or you or Jake opened up with saying, like, what's a show about being, unhappy even at the level that you are? You know, how you have this job and it's a great job, but you're still miserable and sad all the time, which I don't know if Seth Meyers actually is. He seems like one of those actually happy people.
Perma-happy, yeah.
Because he's like an improv guy, and I feel like he has a good balance thing.
I don't know how he does that, but he does seem genuinely that way.
Yeah, I feel like Jimmy Fallon probably not happy.
I don't think so.
Or maybe both. Maybe he's manic or something. I'm projecting. Maybe they're all happy. Maybe I'm the only unhappy one in this equation.
No, I think everyone's secretly unhappy, and they're just, how good are you at lying to yourself?
Yeah, and I get a little bit of happiness out of just addressing it. I think you get the release of like, yeah, I'm not happy right now. And then for that moment, you're happy, and then you're at least not.
Yeah, that is like, I try to, my new strategy for dealing with misery is to just be like, I'm miserable right now, and that's what's going on, and that's fine. I used to try to immediately like yank myself out of it by like turning on music and like doing whatever the fuck I could think of, but now I'm just like...
What kind of music would you put on?
Rage. Fucking rage again. Just fucking rage it out.
That's something we all were very much into in high school days,
yes.
And then had a period of not, because you just can't be enraged that long. It's like the power.
I'm feeling that with Trump right now, where I'm like, how long can I maintain peak rage at Donald Trump? And I still feel it, but I'm exhausted by it now.
Yeah, I think everyone is in 2018. I think 2016 was shaking us up, and then 17 was stewing in it. And now it's like, well, what else are you gonna? Yeah, we already don't care that there's a middle school shooting, or we do, but not. We don't broadcast our care. I think the care happens individually, home by home, going like, can you believe that it wasn't a big deal that there was a middle school shooting? Yeah, I can't believe that they didn't make a big deal.
That is the crazy thing, is like, they're still happening, right? Like shootings, and now we just don't hear about them because there's other things going on. It's like in
Fahrenheit 451, I think that's the book. I've read all the books, but the one where this guy has a friend, and it takes place in the future, and the friend just all of a sudden dies from a car hitting them in the highway, and there's not a funeral or a big deal, and they kind of articulate that like, nowadays that just kind of happens. It's just like, my friend got hit the highway at 700 miles an hour, of course they're dead.
I think it is almost like a healthy reaction, because we're just, not to be too nihilistic or anything, but potentially the world's headed just downhill from here on out, maybe, or like if the environment fails us or something, like we might see by the end of our lives some like catastrophic things start happening. We could. And we're now like, maybe a coping mechanism is to be a little numb to it or something like that.
We're for sure at a turning point. We're either going to burst into the imagination and live in a VR utopia, AR utopia, or just completely bite the dust, be extinct with no trace, even less trace than the Egyptians, which had, levitation technology or whatever stuff, I believe, because of that Netflix show.
It's so funny, too, that like the traces left of Egypt, which is an incredible society, is like a triangle in the ground, or that like comes out of the ground, which is incredible, but also like it's like, okay.
Have you seen the Pyramid Code?
No, I have not.
So I've seen the Pyramid Code, and it's fascinating, but what sucks about it is it makes you worthless unless you remember every detail. For example, I say things like, I saw the Pyramid Code, and it turns out they had futuristic technology, and it was a matriarchal utopia, which had crystals at the top of and see, already I'm starting to talk about crystals and technology, and if you were to ask me how does that work,
you got nothing.
Just some smart people talked about it for 6 hours.
Go watch it and remember it for 2 minutes afterward, and then forget about it.
Yeah, you're worthless afterwards.
Would you, if the technology were made available right now, upload your consciousness into a machine or like an AI, whatever, like a computer?
I feel like I already have. I feel like that would be better than just having this monkey body and then using my fingers to click on mouse and little letters. Like it has the letters indented on plastic, and then I push down on the letter, and then that gives me an A, rather than just communicating my whole life want, rather than working on a project for a year. Does that kind of bum you out that you spent a year on the show, or no, I guess it can't bum you out yet, because if someone were to binge watch it and it'd be done now, it'd be like, well, where's the rest of it?
Right.
But now you get to taper it out.
Yeah, there is. Well, no, I mean, it is like people watch it and it's over so quickly, or even like the episodes are 21 and a half minutes, which is the longest thing I've ever made, but it's still like so little. It's crazy the amount of work that went into it, and then people's experience with it is so small, and it's just a small part of their lives. Although I do think that if you make something, we try to make a show that's dense and like has a lot to it, so I think that people will rewatch it. Maybe.
I do. I've seen it twice already, but I've only seen 4 episodes.
Okay, cool.
Because I think there's only 4 episodes out. I think the fifth one just dropped today. But I really like how number one, both your characters are named Matt and Jake.
Yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like the Matt character kind of still has some hope left.
Yes.
The Matt character makes microbrews, probably cares about music and stuff. And then the Jake character is completely nihilist. And I think it's summed up in that line where Jake goes, all corporations are evil. At least this one we get benefits. And then your guy goes, wait, we get benefits?
Yeah.
So it's like he's in on like that it's hell, but you're still buying into like, no, I can still pursue my art, but I'm just doing this for the time being.
Yes, exactly.
Is that reflective of who you guys actually are? Exaggerated?
I know
Jake is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think the characters are caricatures of ourselves, or like I think it represents me when I was like 23 or something like that, and kind of started working jobs that were devastating to my mental health, and I was just like, how is this happening right now, and why am I here? But still believing that there's something better out there, which it turned out there was for me. Although it is the thing, what you were mentioning with like Seth Meyers being at the peak and it's like still miserable. It is, and we were talking about this before the podcast, but how quickly your brain adjusts to a new reality and then levels everything back out. And then you're back to sort of just the same ups and downs that you always were. Yeah,
like they say on this Positive Head podcast that I listen to a lot, in the intro he says, it's a daily conscious effort to maintain an elevated vibration. So in non-hippy-dippy words, it's like you don't get to wake up happy. You have to come up with a plan that's like, okay, how am I going to not be miserable today, even though I have all the stuff?
Exactly.
Because there's something, I don't know, there's some deep connection to source or something you're missing, but
I think so. What do you do what is your daily grind? Work? Are you like, that's your solution?
Recently, I've started just going all hippy-dippy and spending the first 30 minutes of the day, make sure you do yoga, make sure you do an exercise thing, make sure you don't check your phone until you do that stuff. Act as though you're in prison before, like, if you're in prison, you don't have a phone, you don't have a computer. All you can do is just do pull-ups, and instead of doing pull-ups, I'm doing the yoga thing on my yoga mat with a yoga block and other tools that I wouldn't have in prison, but just pretending like, okay, this is the only thing I can do, and then making that the priority rather than like, oh, I got up a little late, who have I not replied to? Oh, well, this person's doing, and you're looking at more video than you would have ever looked at in the 90s. Like, I know. The surest way to ruin your day is to look at your phone the moment you wake up. That's like guaranteed off to a bad start. And it sucks because your alarm is in there and all your everything is in there. You have to just like quickly touch your alarm and then shove it away from you. But yeah, even if the best case scenario, you look at an email that gives you good news, but how often does that happen? Like once a week if you're lucky, you know what I mean? Yeah, if you mostly it's just chores, a list of chores that you need to do that you haven't done yet. So just stressing yourself out immediately. It really is. It's all chores on different platforms. And God, so many platforms, and then you feel guilt for not being on one platform because you could be missing out on spreading your awareness, because we have the look at me disease. Yes. It's hard to balance because I think one of the things that drives me is constant dissatisfaction with myself, but that also makes me unhappy. You know what I mean? I don't know if you have that where I'm like, the thing that keeps me like, all right, I'm going to start a new project and get this going is like, I haven't done enough. I'm not worth enough. Do better. And then I keep making things. But that also is like not good for my brain in a lot of ways. Yeah, the rat race. The old mouse trap. And it's I loved mouse trap. But at the end, all we're really trying to do is express ourselves. Like, you don't want to be or I don't know, maybe you do. I don't think you do. I think you're like me. You don't want to be a Daniel Day-Lewis type character of like being this actor of portraying stuff. You want to articulate the you. That's why you do stand up. That's why the show is like, it's named you. You made the book that's like your writings and stuff. You want to do the personal outflow, and I feel like no matter how many of those you put out, you're still going to have the generator inside of you wanting to spit them out. So that's what creates the the sadness, or I don't want to call it sadness, the anxiety, the bad.
The lapse. Yeah.
The lapse is created by the engine running and not enough places for it to go outside. So it has to turn in on itself, and then you find creative ways to insult yourself, like, oh, you lazy motherfucker. You're a piss drinker, aren't you? You love drinking that B vitamin piss. That's too specific and not funny enough to be specific.
I know what you're talking about. You take a B vitamin pill and your piss is yellow.
Yeah, it's like it's highlighter chartreuse, as they taught us in science. Did we have the same? So we went to the same high school, not at different times, same elementary school. Are you the most?
You went to Elizabeth Ney?
No, actually, I was in Canada at that point. I was in Lake Jackson, Texas, for LJI, Lake Jackson Intermediate, then Brazos Wood High School.
Okay, yeah.
But no, I missed the elementary thing. But in that sense, I got the experience of more contrast. So I came from Canada to small Texas, King of the Hill sort of town. Not exactly like King of the Hill, but pretty much exactly like King of the Hill, and experiencing these strange phenomenon like football and the teachers being called coach. If they were male teachers, they had to be called coach, even if they didn't do anything.
You had to call the teachers Mr. and Ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am. I learned about ma'am and sir. Like, I got in trouble for not calling someone sir. And you'd be, like, ridiculous in Canada calling someone sir.
It would feel insane.
Yeah. They'd think you're being, I don't know, not patriotic. What is it? Patronizing.
Patronizing.
Yeah, facetious. Another word.
Yeah. Texas. It is a crazy place to grow up. Or, like, small town Texas is just, like, you're swimming in a sea of... I felt like just for the whole time I was there, I was like, I don't know if this is quite the place I should be.
Do you feel like, or I think you might be, you and Robert Ellis might be the two most successful people out of Lake Jackson.
Brazos Wood. Yeah, he's like a successful country musician.
Yeah.
Yeah, possibly. I don't think I'm on the notable alumni yet of Brazos Wood High School's Facebook page.
You're on the way, though, I think.
Yeah.
I haven't been
one
to that
more
Facebook
season
page.
of the show, yeah.
Did you know Robert Ellis? I remember him as just a little like kid this tall, like who could play Hendrix and Rage Against the Machine songs really well.
Yes.
He was like the best guitar player of that, or probably at the time, like I think... Yeah, even of people older than him, I think he was number one. And then I didn't pay attention for, you just go off and live your life. And then I saw the name and I saw like the beard and the hair and saw like, oh, it's the guy from the thing. He did it.
Yeah.
He made it.
I hung out with Robert and I used to go see, he had a band that I used to go see at the Civic Center. They would play at the like little Civic Center and like 10 people would be at the show. And it was like, sweaty and gross and like, but yeah, Brazos Wood. Who were your teachers there?
Let's see, Miss Beeman, Miss Pruitt.
Did you have Miss Sitka?
Oh yeah, Miss Pruitt actually became Miss Sitka, and she was the snarky, sarcastic calculus teacher who would say things like, with differentials, be like, you have to keep these variables separated. You got to keep them separated. And then wouldn't ever even laugh, just stare at you. And
she was one of the few teachers where I was like, you're one of the smart ones, and I feel like you're on my level.
Yeah.
Even though I
think her sarcasm is still above my level or any like British person's level to this day, unless she's gotten some brain tumor.
I did the dumbest things. I had her for both, I think Algebra 2 and Calculus. And in Calculus, I was going to this tutor for a bit to like get help because I was just I didn't try in high school at all. And so I was like going to this tutor.
Were you top 10%?
I was top 11%.
You just missed it?
I just missed it.
I was the last guy in the top 10%. It was like a class of 580 and I was number 58.
Yeah.
So I just got it. And the reason there's significance in this is to get accepted into the University of Texas
at Austin,
if you're in the top 10% of your high school, you have to be accepted. Yeah, that's the law. So I was by law had to be accepted.
I barely got into that university, but when I got there, I tried really hard and made great grades. But in high school,
how'd you do in high school? Like B, C?
Like A's and B's, but just like right below what you needed to be in the top 10%.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, because our school you could get 110.
That's right. Yeah.
110.
Yeah, if you got 100 in an AP class, it went up to 110. Yeah, it was like a curve or something.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
I think it is bullshit.
Yeah, it's dumb. You can't get 10% more than what you are.
That feels wrong, actually, now that I'm thinking about it.
Percent. Yeah, per 100. You got 110 for every 100. You did better than you can possibly do at your highest potential in this textbook-related thing.
But so I was going to this tutor, and one night he like helped me do this homework, and he had like done a bunch of the problems to like show me how to do it, and then I just didn't go do it after that. I was supposed to go do it on my own, so I just turned in the stuff that he had done, and I got it back next class, and she was like, she gave it to me, and she's like, my dad, this is my dad. It turned out her dad was my tutor, and I just didn't. Sitka's
dad was the tutor?
Sitka's dad was the tutor, and she's like, this is his handwriting, and I recognize it.
Funny. And she probably said it with, like, no tone in her voice, too.
Zero inflection, yeah,
What was another thing? This kid, Casey, one time in the class was like, why do we have to learn this shit? Like, what's the significance of it? And she's like, it's my job. Are you saying my job isn't important? She just spun. I know it's circle logic that you need to learn it in case you want to be my job, but she just turned it into a joke and so that he couldn't say anything afterwards. Yeah, and the question was never asked again.
Were you a good kid in high school, or were you kind of...
Yeah, I think I was a good kid. I wasn't goody. I guess I wasn't one of the top performers, but I wasn't bad. I didn't drink till college. I didn't really go partying or anything. I stayed home, watched Mr. Bean during New Year's. I guess I had some... I didn't really have bad friends either. I had friends that had done bad things. I had a friend that blew up a porta potty with gasoline, and he was under house arrest, so that whenever we wanted to play music, we had to go to his house. And the drummer was so annoyed. We had a drummer friend, and like the drums are at his house, and he had to bring it to the friend's house because he's under house arrest for blowing up the porta potty. And he was embarrassed about it. It was something he did a long time ago, but
that was because in a small town in Texas, like there's nothing to do but blow up porta potties. Like, there's a lot of that type of stuff of just like teenage boys destroying things because they have nowhere else to put their energy.
Are your parents still there?
They're in Houston now. They moved up.
Oh, so there's no reason for you to ever be back there.
No, I haven't been back in a really long time. I've heard they got a Best Buy now, so...
I think the Best Buy is done, too.
Oh, no.
I hope this is interesting to people. I find it really interesting, but I hope it's not too region-specific for my hundreds of listeners. But, there was that big yellow movie theater, and then the big yellow movie theater became faded by the sun, and it became this, like, kind of beige...
Disgusting
tone. And then it became a Best Buy, and now Best Buy is kind of obsolete because of Amazon. You just go there to see what you want to buy on Amazon,
and then you buy it on Amazon.
And it's done. Or if you're really, really impatient, you want to do research. I think they price match, but I think Jeff Bezos is buying it all up. I think he's playing for keeps.
That company is a little worrisome because I even use it, but I'm like, I think I'm buying into the thing that's going to own me one day.
Yeah, but it's cool to not have to go to the store to buy a contact solution, too.
It's really cool. I love it. And I guess, too, it is useful for people who live, like, in a small town where there isn't even, like, a Walmart or something, and they need shit, so...
Yeah, and you get the box, and you get to use the box for stuff. I'm for it.
What do you use the box for?
Putting Post-it notes of ideas or some bullshit.
So you've used one of the boxes, one of the hundreds of boxes you've got on Amazon.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Or I use it as a recycling box because I don't own a recycling bin, so I use the box as a recycling bin. And then I recycle the box. There. That justifies whatever they're doing to the environment. I justified it. What are... Let's see. I always want to keep bringing it back to corporate, but with have you been getting asked a lot of annoying questions, or is it too early?
I've gotten asked what's your worst job been too many times now.
That's like the go-to question they give you on the late night shows.
That's the go-to question, and I just don't have any interesting answers. We put them into the show essentially. So like I'm out of I should just start making up funny stories about what happened to me at jobs I've had.
You've got to do it Larry David style, where Larry David just ask for people's stories and wouldn't ask them to even write it, like sitcom style, just like give me the brief story and then, okay, we're going to write that and then we'll give you the writing credit.
Oh, really? Possibly.
I think
so. Yeah. Yeah, I should have maybe a story about a boss shitting in my mouth. How about that?
You should open
anyway,
with that.
Jimmy Fallon, crazy story. One time my boss shit in my mouth.
That's crazy.
Because I asked him to.
You heard Andy Kindler's Jimmy Fallon?
He did a set on there?
No, of course not. He has a joke about, I think it's, here's Jimmy Fallon interviewing Stalin. Like, Stalin, I heard you killed 6 million Jews. That's crazy. Just so really unbiased towards everyone. Just interviews Michelle Bachmann or someone, just complete with no venom to it. Did you always want to be a stand-up, or is it something you fell into, like, I guess I'll try this, and then develop the taste for it?
I fell into it and developed the taste. I wanted to be a writer, and I wanted to write comedy. And then about that time when I was in college, I was like, well, if I'm going to seriously do this, I better buy a book. I better study how to do this. So I bought a book called Comedy Writing Secrets from Barnes and Noble. And it was mostly just like not really worthwhile. But the thing it did say is you should do stand-up, or at the very least try it. It was a type of book where it was like telling you how to maybe get a job writing for a stand-up comedian it was like all like from the 80s essentially. But it was told me to try stand-up comedy. So I did, and then I got the bug.
Was Cold Town your first mic?
No, I was actually out here for a summer to do like internships and take some classes out here. And so my first open mic was at Rainbow Bar and Grill, and then a couple more at Haha Cafe, and then I went back and did them at Cold Town.
Right on. And then you went back to LA in 2 years after that?
1 year after that. I was here in, I guess, the summer of 2009, and then I came out here in 2010.
Right on. Mm-hmm. That's the right way to do it, I think.
Yeah.
I think I spent too much time in Austin. For all the listeners who don't know this backstory, Matt and I were at Cold Town Theater doing the Live at Cold Town show, and you did the tech booth, and I was the host, and you would do a set.
That's right.
Most nights, I think.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was like a great Friday night hang every week.
The good old days.
Yeah, it was the good old days.
You go back to Austin often, Stin?
I've been back a lot lately, and yeah, it's still great. I mean, it's changed a lot. Now I'm like a tourist there, so I just go eat the food, and like this city's changed dramatically. But I did a set at Cold Town maybe 6 months ago or something, and it was really fucking fun.
I know.
It's still a good theater.
I said right on too many times in a row, but I'm going to stick to it. Right on. That's going to be my thing. Lock the gates. Right on. Do you podcast at all? I don't research whether people have a podcast or not.
I don't have one, but I feel like I'm always on the verge of starting one.
Oh, so it's one you feel like you want to have an audio kind of show, but you don't have the...
I don't even know. It's not even really the main thing I want to do. It's more just in looking at the landscape right now, it's a valuable way to like talk to people and do something fun and talk to funny people. So like it's always seemed fun to me.
Yeah, and I think it's getting big because we're all so busy, and audio only takes half of your attention, so you can do something else. So I guarantee everyone listening to this right now is not just sitting there cross-legged listening to this.
They're sprinting on a treadmill. They're riding in a car.
They're thinking about writing something.
They're masturbating.
Oh, of course. Especially during this part. Yeah.
Oh,
now
get it.
Now touch the other part.
Touch the other part of your thing.
Yeah, now touch your body. Yeah, now use your body to touch the part that was touching. Yeah, now it's like it's getting together with it. Yeah, real dirty talk for 99 cents an hour.
Yeah, you owe us money now for this dirty talk. Venmo.
Have you ever worked as a phone sex operator?
Funny enough. Yeah, I know I have a natural talent for it, but I haven't. Have
you ever thought of committing hate crimes as a younger man?
How many hate crimes have you committed? I don't know if I would be a good phone sex operator. I think there's probably less of a market for men, although maybe that's not true.
I have no idea these days. It feels like there's everything. I was watching that Slut Ever show on Vice, and there's that, what are they called? Like professional, I don't know. It's basically you agree to be someone's slave.
Yeah.
And they whip you, and they put the men get a chastity belt on them, and they have to go do their laundry and just kind of do everything for no money other than you're their slave. And they like that dynamic. And
interesting.
Was the other interesting part to it. Yeah, they asked the dude if he had a safe word, and then she said, nope, no safe word. That was just our consent, and I can do anything, short of killing him. But even that, but she said it in a way that, like, I could kill him, but I don't want to. So it just gets to that point, and he's just the most strikingly ordinary guy. And she has multiple ones.
Life is just, there's a lot going on in life. It's just, it's a strange place to be, and why not explore those things? I think it comes out of just boredom or just like curiosity, but it's like good for them for being in a place where they can do that. I don't think I could commit to being a slave to somebody. Yeah,
you got to at least hand it to them that they're at least communicating well. Like, there's so many relationships with not good communication. Like, that might be a weird one, but at least they're communicating, and that they're...
I was just thinking about, it would be funny if I started doing, because I think the new phone sex line is camming. You get on like a webcam and strip or whatever.
I think there's people that do it all day, or I know there's people that have their cam, and sometimes there's nothing there on the feed, just Truman Show style, their whole life being fed to it, and they make thousands of... I mean, everyone makes money doing everything now. There's kids that make money doing slime videos.
I've seen the slime videos,
like millionaires, like 12-year-old millionaires for slime videos on YouTube. There's millionaires that it's a dad and a son that cut things in half. That's the whole show. It's just we cut things in half, and I don't even think it's witty. It's just
that's what's strange, or why I'm like, I try so hard to be inventive and make high quality, valuable content, and then it's like, but I'm losing to this people cutting things in half. I'm like, they're way more popular than I'll ever be.
It's The Simpsons with man gets hit in groin by football.
Yes,
man gets hit in groin by football trumps all. Nothing's going to beat that. Do you want to ride corporate till the wheels come off, or do you want to be like, well, we did 4 seasons and we feel like we said all we had to say, or are you going to be like, you know what, I've got nothing this 5th season, but we're going to go for it. Just The Simpsons, maybe have some bad seasons, find our groove again.
I don't know. I think ideally we'd like to do it until the point that we feel like we've said or done when it feels like we can't make a quality show anymore. That being said, it is really hard to get something going, so it is tempting to just like keep writing it for a while, because like, again, it took 3 years to get this show going, and that we could have gotten to the end of 3 years and it could have just failed, and then like, it could gone nowhere. But I think ideally I want to just make things that are good, and so I'm going to chase that as much as I can.
Right on, as I like to say. Is there another one is there something inside of you? Is there another thing inside of you that's like, well, after I'm done this one, I would love to do blank, but I'm too busy right now?
Yeah, I got some things inside of me. Start touching yourselves again right now. I'm going to start, I'm going to start touching I'm working on a lot of things right now, because we're waiting to hear if we get officially picked up for season 2.
Comedy Central, if you're listening, you got to pick it up for season 2. Or if you're the listener, people who haven't seen the show Corporate, you have to watch Corporate it, so it stays on TV.
Talk about it out loud.
I don't remember if I said this already. It was in my head, and maybe people have already pointed this out, but it's like there's this history of workplace comedy shows, which I don't know if it starts with Mary Tyler Moore or something before that, but it's basically saying like, corporate offices suck. This is how much they suck. And then another one comes along. It's like, no. This is how much they suck. Then another one, this is how much they suck. And with each increment, the other ones look tame compared to it. And this one, it's like, it's doubled on top of what, it's like, well, Office doesn't seem as bad as this, or I didn't watch Workaholics or I think of Office Space, but it's
Yes.
like this is the next level, and it points out current stuff that's happening too.
Yeah, it's like Office Space meets American Psycho or something like that. It's bleak.
I love the rawness to the soundtrack. The just that drum and fuzzy kind of bass.
Ty Segall did that. Do you know Ty Segall? He's a really talented, like, modern garage rocker that you would probably like if you like that music.
So that's like his. Was that song made for the show? Specifically?
Yeah, we were just fans of his, and then when we had a chance to like pay somebody to write a song, we reached out to him and he agreed to do it. So it was cool.
On.
Yeah.
Was there any roadblocks along the way? Like, we really want this guy, and they're like, no, we'd rather have someone. We'd rather bring in our person to do the music. Because you got a lot of Austin comics in there, too. You guys got to jam in, like, so
Chris
many
Fairbanks.
familiar faces.
Yeah.
And they got to keep their names a lot of the time.
Yes.
It's like Baron Vaughn is Baron.
Yeah.
And he's completely himself, the way he slides away without moving his feet.
Some of that, honestly, was just, or even to some extent, naming Jake and I's characters after ourselves, is we just didn't anticipate it getting to this point. Like when we came up for the pitch for the show, we were like, just it'll be Matt and Jake, and then Baron, Baron will be in it, so we'll call him Baron. And then now it's like a whole fucking thing. So it's like we intended that all along, when in reality it was just like a snap decision we made early on in the process.
I think it's awesome. It's like you're all Tony Danza.
Yeah.
Do you still live with Jake?
No, I do not.
Oh, I was just thinking that'd be so great if a delivery person came over and was a fan of the show and be like, hey, you're the guy from, and you guys live together, you're Bert and Ernie, you actually live together in real life.
Yeah, and then we started touching ourselves. And we're touching ourselves now.
Oh, and it's just like on that podcast I did. Yeah. It's a deep cut, but it's just like on that podcast. I'm the delivery guy.
Wait, what were you asking me about
any
casting?
Roadblocks.
Oh, roadblocks.
Do they fight you on anything, or
little things here and there? But thankfully, Comedy Central is pretty much like wants you to just do whatever you want to do, and like if you have as long as you have a thoughtful vision for it, they want to pursue that, because they're in the business of making specific shows versus like CBS broad shows that need to appeal to every person in America at once somehow. This
would never make it on not 2018, maybe 2021 or something.
No, this would be canceled immediately
because of so much suicide. Not to spoiler anything, but that's the first episode, like not hiding any suicides.
No, it'd be funny to try to do our show as a multicam, like the same lighting and intensity, but it's just, there's a laugh track in between everything. But no, I mean, you do have to sort of guard your baby as you go along and because, again, it took 3 years to make it. So over the course of 3 years, we had to continue to reiterate over and over again to many, many people, as more and more people became involved, exactly what we wanted to do. Because if you don't like truly double down on it constantly, it'll get pulled away in different directions and become something else.
For sure.
And to some extent, that collaboration is what makes it great, and you do want other people's input. But most of your job, if you're like producing or like spearheading something, is just being like, no, it's this. No, it can't be that. It's this. No, it cannot be that. It's this. Just over and over again.
That's good advice. I need to learn that. Because I tend to just be like, well, it's whatever you guys want. As long as you pay me just give me the money. Give me the thing. And then they smell the weakness on you.
No, the trick is to not be like, I'll give you whatever you want. It's like, I have something you need.
Yeah, play that game. So when you say it took 3 years, is that from typing the first letter on the Final Cut software? Not Final Cut, what's it called? Whatever, Final Draft software?
Yeah. No, that was from, actually, I believe my manager sent me the first email I sent her telling her that Jake and Pat and I had come up with a show that we want to work on and pitch. And it was, I think, in October or November of 2015. Is that right? So wait, where are we now? We're in 2018? So maybe
it doesn't feel like it, right? It feels like it should be 2016 at most.
Yeah.
At the very most.
I know.
But it's 2018.
It's somehow 2 years have passed.
Yeah, name one thing that happened in 2017. See, it didn't happen.
I don't know.
Yeah, they steamrolled over us.
Yeah, 2017 feels blank to me. Or it was like chaos. It felt, and so it's just like null in my brain now. I've sort of relegated it to sort of a dark zone that I don't think about very much.
Yeah, it was a crazy time.
But yeah, it's taken forever. Yeah, and then you because you have to pitch it, and then months pass. If you sell it, then months pass where you write the first script. It's just everything takes forever.
And it was going to be called, at first it was going to be called Corporate, then it was changed to Hampton DeVille, and then it got changed back to Corporate because somewhere else had the name Corporate, and then they weren't going to use it, right?
Yeah, it was initially called Corporate, and then there was a show that came out on Sci-Fi called Incorporated, and so we were told that we could no longer use the name Corporate for whatever reason. I guess they owned the rights to it, but then then we changed it to Hampton DeVille, which is the name of the corporation within the show, and I think would have made it a nightmare to market the show. And then thankfully the Sci-Fi show got canceled, and I feel sorry for all them, I guess, but and we got our name back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was happy about that. When I saw it was changed, I was like, oh no, this is...
I know. It was a thing, and the president of Comedy Central was like, that was kind of what he wanted. He's like, let's do a weird, it'll be called Hampton DeVille.
What's that dude like?
He's really nice. He's like a really chill, Zen-like dude who's funny.
Does he wear a sport coat?
He wore, if he's at a fancy place, but mostly it's just button-down shirt and slacks.
Oh, so you know him pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Is it?
Oh, kind of.
Has he been the president for a while? Because I know MTV or something gets a new president every week.
Ken's been I don't know exactly how long, but I think maybe 10 years or maybe a little less than that, but a while, yeah.
Oh, wow, killing it.
He also was an executive there. He worked there as an executive years and years ago and greenlit Strangers with Candy, which is a really weirdo, cool show.
I remember that, yeah. It's that late 90s Comedy Central.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Back when we had TV and internet was 56K. And you would just watch MTV music videos and just half of Limp Bizkit videos or some... We really subjected ourselves to a lot of bad content looking back on it.
Oh, yeah, because you just didn't have options. Or especially in Lake Jackson, again, where we're from, I just wasn't exposed to anything. It was just whatever came through cable, and I had a couple friends who kind of clued me into some cooler things, but it was very mainstream culture that I was just ingesting for a long time.
Me too. I didn't have or I guess my parents had vinyl, but for some reason I didn't want to get interested in it, so I just had CDs and... Well,
vinyl before you have the idea that music is there's something valuable about having a big thing. It's when you're a kid, it's just give it to me as fast as possible. I don't give a shit about why would I care about vinyl?
Yeah, you don't care about nutrition back then. You want
just give it to
fix.
Me. Yeah. That is a crazy thing that's happened now. Although vinyl, I think, is popular again, but music is so devalued in a crazy way. It's essentially... recorded music that you listen to is almost worth nothing now because of Spotify and the fact that you can get it all for free. And that's crazy if you think about it. Think about how important music is to you and how much it enriches your life. And unless you're just a good person who buys music, which you should do, although I don't always do. I just subscribe to Spotify. These artists get almost zero money for something that is extraordinarily valuable to you.
Yeah, but also it is valuable, but it's also not valuable in that there's a
lot of substitutes.
Yeah, it's a buyer's market now. There's just so much of it everywhere, and the means of distribution exploded, and the means of production exploded. So before you needed at least 10 or 100 grand to record a music thing, and now this setup I have here is less than $100, and it's better than what the Beatles used, pretty much.
That's true. You can do it.
There was just an old microphone they had that was in the center of the room, and then they would play to it, and the mix, the word mix comes from where the mic was in the room. So we want the mix to be high, we want it to be low, and there wasn't that, fancy EQ board and Logic and Pro Tools, and now there's all that stuff. There's little plugins where you can just hit one note on the piano and then it makes a trance beat. So you could be a trance DJ by just pressing one button, and people don't know where you got that sound from. And a lot of people are. There's a lot of thin soup on the...
There is, I think that the challenge is that
what do you mean
the thick soup.
When you say buy music, you mean when someone releases it on iTunes, go pay the $12 for the music? Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
Or buy it on vinyl. Well, I think it's just...
If you've got the $12, sure.
If you got the 12... Yeah, and that's the thing is it's that's a luxury. You're in a privileged position if you're able to do that. But it is something where especially if you like music that is not the biggest people out there. If you have like some independent musicians, those people are able to make music because they're supported by their music, or they make money from it, hopefully, and most of it comes from touring. But if you truly like a musician and you know them to be kind of independent or struggling, it is, I think, worth it to consciously pay for it if you can. You obviously can't do that with all the music, but I think it's worth doing that. In the same way that eventually I would imagine you'll start a Patreon for this podcast. You know what I mean? Probably. Like, this podcast is extremely easy to do, but for some people out there, it'll be valuable and enrich their lives. And it's good to support that, because if not, it'll just fall away, you know? That's true, but also there's different models you can pursue. Like, I guess there's only 3 ways to make money. You can either pay, or maybe just 2. You can either give me the money for the thing, or you can not give me the money for the thing, and then advertisers give me money to, you know, piggyback on whatever attention I have, and then they're paying for that attention from the listeners, which is, you know, it's the whole, if you're not paying for it, you are the product sort of thing. And I guess you are while you're listening to the ad. Yeah. Or no, that's not true. You're not the product while you're listening to the ad. Yeah. But I mean, it is challenging because musicians, there are too many. Same with comedy. There's too many. There's more than we need. You know what I mean? So there is just like, it's just a problem of supply and demand. It's like, we don't need all of these, so most people aren't going to pay them, and they're going to have to just struggle, and some of them will fall away. It is just having known musicians, and a lot of some of the music a genre of music I really like is like garage rock, and the money in that is non-existent unless you tour constantly, and it just ruins your life. Is garage rock defined by low production value? Is it considered kind of lo-fi? I think I'm not a music genre expert. I would say that, yes, some of it is lo-fi. I mean, that's not why you like it, but it probably is. Yes, and there's sort of a grittiness to it. It's not like hyper-produced usually. Yeah, it's not, you know, Foo Fighters, Sonic Highways. It's like in a garage or in like a home studio type of thing. Yeah. Most of my favorite guys are dead, so but I love old Hendrix recordings, and even when the quality is bad and he's making mistakes and all that kind of stuff, it's still, there's parts of it where it's like, oh, there's a lot of juice to that one. That actually did something for me, and it's been a while since a sound did something for me. Totally. What type of music do you listen to? Oh, everything. But I guess I'm a bigger, like, you know, 60s, 70s. Yeah. No, I won't even stop it there. But all of us now listen to a lot of stuff where we don't look at what the thing is, so we'll put it on Spotify radio or Pandora radio. Kids are actually saying that now, where they don't have a favorite artist. They'll say like, oh, my favorite is like the radio station that when you put David Bowie on or something. That is crazy. That goes back to the memory thing of just like, I'm even guilty of that a little now, where I have these super long Spotify playlists where I kind of like keep all of my favorite artists and stuff. But were those to disappear, like if Spotify went offline, I would have a really hard time recreating that list of musicians that I like, you know? It goes back to the memory thing. We've given our memory to the internet, we've given everything to the internet but our attention right now, which we also give to the internet. We give our attention away to social media and just blindly scroll through it, because the alternative seems to be what? Just, you know, meditate? That sounds terrible. I'd rather look at the stimulus. Do you have guys, like when you were asking like what music I like I'm thinking there's no genre specific thing. It's not like, oh, I only like jazz and funk and I'm not into hip hop, or I'm not into, like, I like some country. I love the Highwayman and Johnny Cash and all that, but I guess Frank Zappa's a big guy for me. Hendrix, of course, Prince, Bowie. Yeah, I think, from that era, probably the classic people. Yeah, Bowie, I love. Are those ones you hold on to, like, from childhood? It's like, I liked this guy when I was 15, and I still... Actually, from childhood, I actually weirdly came into most of that music in college. When I was a kid, a lot of that music hit my eardrums as like cliche or like dad music, and for some reason, even like the Beatles, I was like, it felt like I had heard it, or it was a part of a culture that I didn't care about. It's in Walgreens commercials. Exactly. So how could you like it when it's I Want to Hold Your Hand and it's Walgreens commercial, whereas the
the baby boomers experienced it as this breaking through of new sound.
And so it wasn't until later when just through at various points in my life, really listened or took another shot at some of these bands and was like, oh, removed from the prior context I have, this is amazing and incredible. And even like, yeah, the Beatles or even like the Beach Boys. That was the biggest example where I was like, this is fucking dumb dad music. And then when I like later in life, I was like, oh, this is like the most beautiful music I've ever heard. Let's see if I can point your listeners to any cool new music.
What's an embarrassing one? Because you have a joke that's kind of like that, where your joke is, I'm going to ruin the joke. It doesn't matter though, because it's my podcast. Yeah. I'll ruin your whole hour. You don't have an hour anymore. I just say it really fast and speed it up on the track, so all the jokes are ruined. But you have a joke about your favorite movie growing up is The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise, and it was your favorite movie, and you would like wear it as a badge of honor.
Yes.
Like, that's my favorite.
It is truly, my taste at that point in time was very questionable. What was I saying?
I think it becomes endearing. Like at first you're embarrassed by it, but then I look at, let's take like Harris Whittles, for example. The late great Harris Whittles died in 2014, and something, they're talking about him. He's like the funniest guy. He was so sweet. He loved 311. He loved, playing along with 311 songs. And most, like, I like 311, but people, will give them a bad, because they fall into that late 90s kind of rap rock genre, so people will give them a hard time. And some of the songs maybe are annoying, but he gets, like, that becomes an endearing thing about him.
Yeah, and there was a thing, too. I remember, like, in high school being unself-consciously in love with whatever music I happened to love, which was, like, Rage Against the Machine, Incubus, Ben Folds. Like,
those are all great.
Yeah, Radiohead. I mean, I'm sure it was probably the exact type of music from Lake Jackson, Texas. But then when I got to high school, I went to UT Austin. Austin's very hip. And I was then essentially shamed for all of that music. So then I learned to be ashamed of my taste. And then I worked to develop more interesting taste. And in doing so, even though the sort of impetus for doing that is a little like artificial, which is like, you shouldn't try to find better things because you're ashamed of what you like. You should just do that because you should try to find better things. But then I got sort of more nuanced, better taste. But I've now come back around to not feeling ashamed of that I liked Incubus in high school.
Yeah, isn't it nice to have both? Like, because it sucks to just have Incubus and hate Beatles and Beach Boys, and it sucks to abandon all that and to sit at a place where it's like, I like it. Like,
I was just thinking about this in regards to, because people it's fun. It can be fun to, or tempting to cast judgments on entire groups of people or band, like like with a piece of art, like a band or a book or something. Like I was thinking people make fun of Infinite Jest or people who read the book Infinite Jest a lot.
I haven't read it, but I know that David Foster Wallace killed himself.
Yeah, that's right. How
unprofessional of me.
Yeah.
It goes off a lot.
That's a book that for some good reasons people make fun of, is like, it's 1,000 some pages. It's so dense. It's so difficult to read. And there's a type of usually white man who reads it with a sort of like hard dick energy and is sort of like, is like egotistically like, yeah, I fucking get Infinite Jest. And so there's like a lot to hate about what happened with that book, because it was ingested by sort of like neckbeardy, no offense to the neckbeards out there, I'm generalizing, neckbeardy men who like to lord their knowledge over people. Yeah. But all that being said, there's still a lot of great stuff in that book, so it's dumb to write it off entirely because of the audience that likes it. You know what I mean?
It seems like the fans are the problem. It's like you look at, Jesus, awesome. Fans, there are good fans, but sure. We don't like fanatics, and fan is short for fanatic, and you won't like.
It's a problem of anybody who makes the piece of art they love their identity, because then it's like, it's not yours, and the way in which you're reappropriating that art as who you are is going to make it feel false and strange and add a weird texture to it,
Yeah, or just. On that note, it's the thinking one book has all the answers.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, why not read more books?
Yeah, read more books. It's good that you started reading books.
Yeah, it's like Incubus isn't the only band. You can like learn about other stuff.
You can like the Chili Peppers. You can like Offspring. You can like Weezer. I'm trying to name all the bands from that
Weezer was a big one,
that 90s bubble.
Can you think of an example of a time when shame caused you to be better? Because shame is typically, it is bad, or it's like bad to shame people, but it can be worthwhile to throw a little bit of shame at people so that it causes them to think about what they're doing and then maybe branch out a little bit.
The distinction, there's a whole like talk on this by Brene Brown about the difference between shame and guilt, and shame doesn't motivate you to change your behavior. Guilt does, and I think the distinction is shame is inherent and guilt is tied to a specific action. So you can feel guilty about doing something and then you can correct it. But if you're shamed and you're just like bad for whether it's being male or female or black or Jew or a Mexican or a Chinese person. I just wanted to say the different types of people and start to slowly get my tone. So what's it like being a Chinese person?
Ramin's alt-right podcast about expanding your mind.
That'd be interesting because I'm of Middle East descent, but I'm like in one of the not or I don't know how it's doing right now.
You would be extremely valuable to the alt-right. The alt-right because anybody although I guess they would just reject you. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't hear as much about them anymore, but I might not just be watching news as much, but it feels like the alt-right isn't as big of a focus as it was maybe 6 months ago.
Well, I think it's a thing where it's now normalized. So it was new. It was like a new thing 6 months ago, and they were like poking their heads up, and it was like, what the fuck is this? Trump got elected, and now these maniacs are out here. But now it's school shootings now. So it's like, it's happening all the time. So it's like, well, I guess that's just new reality.
But does the alt-right have like a platform? Is there like, this is what the alt-right believes in, or is it kind of like you throw them? It's basically, the word alt is like in the 90s, we didn't know what category to put the Cardigans and garbage in. So we're like, they're alternative music. And then that became a genre. So
I think is that like, I don't like, maybe there will be an alt-right party, but I don't think so, because the Republican Party swallows that up. I think it's just a way to categorize people who are nationalists and racists, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I don't know. If anybody who's alt-right who has more nuanced opinion of yourself, feel free to reach out to me and let me know.
All right. Well, there's a part of the podcast where we got to do 10 seconds of silence. It's a thing that I made up, and it's my favorite part of it. It shows you how bad talking is.
That's great, yeah.
That 10 seconds is. And it's not even meditation or anything. You don't have to think about a thing. We don't have to look into each other's eyes. We can. We probably will.
Yeah.
But, all right, so I'm going to start it.
And let's look into each other's eyes.
Are you ready? I'm going to start it now. That was good.
I don't know why I held my breath as well.
That's the longest I've stared into another man's eyes in a long time.
You didn't ask me to hold my breath, but I was holding my breath the whole time.
On Valentine's Day.
How romantic.
On Valentine's Day, we stared into each other's eyes on silence. Maybe when I do a lot of episodes of this, I'll string them all together and I'll get all the 10 seconds of silences as one episode of silence, like that one orchestra guy. I forget who it was. It wasn't Thelonious Monk. It was some guy basically, because music is not just notes, it's a combination of notes and rest.
Yep.
So he decided then that means rests are music. So he hired the whole London Philharmonic or some orchestra to actually go sit in silence and taped an hour of them just sitting there, with their bows and everything up, just to have that. So kind of,
was there little creaks and stuff?
I don't think so. There might have been, actually. Yeah. There's gotta be. Everyone, if you get a group of more than 20 people together, some asshole has to cough. There's always somebody.
Yeah, of course. It's almost, I find it to be slightly performative. If I'm in a situation like that and it's forced silence, there's something about me that wants to make a little noise or something. I don't know what it is.
Would you play the penis game in school? Where you had to say penis louder and louder, and or some kind of word that's inappropriate, and you start small, and then you keep going louder,
yes,
and then you lose once the teacher figures it out, and you do that one.
Yeah, going back to that, I was like, I didn't have much respect for a lot of my teachers in high school, so I wasn't like a class clown or like that, but I was just like kind of an asshole.
Did you win any superlatives at the superlative show?
I did not, no.
Did you present any? I presented class clown. I wasn't class clown though.
I actually might have presented, although I can't remember at this point, but yeah.
Isn't it crazy that was like such an important part of our life, and now we remember what Miss Sitka and that iced tea and the stupid square pizza slices, and that's about it.
I know, and you're in some way still reacting to it, or you're like correcting behaviors you learned during that period of time.
Yeah, you're still. It's what is it? Your 20s is spent getting over what happened in your your teens, and in your 30s just first. Are you 30 yet?
I just turned 30.
Oh, happy birthday!
So now I'm a real human being now.
Yeah, you're actually 30, and I'm talking like I know anything about 30, and then I'm like, oh, 40 is where it's at. You got to see Judd Apatow's This Is 40. That's where it really gets real.
Yeah.
Well, we covered a lot of bases today.
Yeah.
I think it's getting to be that wrap up point, but I do want to hit the hour mark. So
let me jump in and suggest, and Ramin did not ask me to do this, but you should rate and review his podcast. It is a boring thing that you're asked it constantly if you're listening to podcasts, but it is truly valuable, and it helps the podcast be healthy. It helps Ramin. Take a moment, go write a review for Ramin. Say something nice about him.
Thank you, and give it 5 stars. Don't be honest.
Yeah, don't be an asshole.
Give it everyone's podcast is either 1 star or 5 stars.
I know. We've seen that, like the early reviews on like websites where you can review like user reviews of corporate. It's either 10 stars or 1 star. There's no like nuanced review of it early on.
Is there comments?
I haven't seen, there's some comments, yeah. Thankfully, the reviews have been good, but it is like, people's, the average user of like IMDb, it's either a 1 or a 10. There's no in between.
Stupid polarities.
Yeah.
Oh, another thing I like about it a lot, I just kind of sucked the show's dick for this whole hour. I love that there's like little parts of it, like you have short vignettes that have to do with the show, like in the trademark episode where Matt makes his own beer. Mm-hmm. It has the feel of like your sketches, like the Wait What sketch or the the names are escaping me, but it's it's kind of like digital shorts, but you found a way to incorporate it into that show where like there's no reason you have a beer commercial, but you're fantasizing about having the beer.
I'm thinking about it, so then you start seeing it. Yeah, I think that's what's fun about the show, or what is hopefully will appeal to people, is like we dig into interesting visual aesthetics that a lot of office comedies or a lot of comedies just don't really get into, and we take comedy very seriously. We like try to shoot it really, really well. So I think people will like that.
I think it is shot very well. Not that I know what I'm talking about cinematography wise, but I don't fake the funk, I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think I like to tell people they have a good thing or invite them over.
You can't lie to people.
Mm-mm. No, I can lie to people just fine, but I'm not lying about this one.
Well, thank you.
You can check my watch history. And all right, any closing remarks before I execute you from this dimension of audio, and then
no, watch Corporate. Talk about it on the internet. It's helpful for us if you do that. And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram if you want to.
What's your number one, Instagram or Twitter?
I think Instagram I enjoy a little more, even though I don't even do that much with it. Twitter feels like it looks like I'm looking at coding now or something like that, or the Matrix or something. But I do tweet funny things sometimes, and so I'm a fun follow.
Yeah, he is. He's a fun follow.
Yeah.
Do you remember when there was Follow Friday and we actually did it? Doesn't that tell you how small of a community it was back then? It's like, hey guys, Jamie Lee is really funny. You got to check her out. And then a lot of people you knew would follow her, like just. And now it's just weird if you do that. You're screaming into the void, like
it is. It does feel like Twitter is screaming into the void. Yeah, it's an undulating. Mass of organisms that, like, nobody has control over.
And you can't see what you wrote a long time ago without really digging or paying for it or something.
Yep.
It's a strange platform. And it's a little bird, and it's serious. Like, people get really upset because the president said something on the Little Blue Bird website. We're already in the Black Mirror Waldo sort of future.
Yeah, we're living in the dystopian future right now.
Yeah.
That is the thing, is it's like, it won't look like any of the shows. We're in it currently. Yeah.
It's kind of neat, actually, because half of us were prepared, or not half of us, but inside, we didn't think that the Mayans were right about 2012, but we didn't know that they weren't right, because they had a lot of shit figured out. It's like, it's not going to end. Is it going to end?
Is it ending?
Did they know something?
Yeah.
They kind of were pretty good at calculating all that astronomical
shit. Was 2012 the tipping point where it's sort of like, I mean, we had Obama for a little while longer, but then now it seems like it's headed to a bad place. Although, who knows? We might, at the end of the day, we might just pop out of this in a few years, and it's like, well, that was crazy. And
you never know. There's too many variables, but there seems to be more evidence to our doom, and we are deep into the 6th mass extinction on this planet or something like that. But the internet is an entirely new phenomenon, and population-wise, I don't think we're overpopulated, because there's 6 trillion cells in a human body. So it's like, if we look at it in that sense, and we're becoming a big organism where each human being is a cell, then that one is like, we just need a shift in organization. And if you look deep enough, you never see an entity. You see a group of entities working together. And also, it's in that Sapiens book where the shift in why humans became the dominators on this planet wasn't because new genes or the brain increased in size. It's because we started working together. Yeah, it's a shift in organization. So we got to do that shift in organization. Does that mean we have to love everyone? Yeah, unfortunately. So you got to pick the lesser of two evils: love everyone or perish.
Stop driving boats. I heard recently that boats are one of the biggest ozone destroyers out there. Or not even ozone, just environment killers is boats.
Just because of the fuel and stuff?
I think so. And it's just in there's something about it. And we probably need to stop eating fish. That's a problem. There's too many things we need to stop doing.
I could live with that. I wouldn't be thrilled, but if I had to give up one thing like fish, that'd
be fine.
Need it.
No.
If I was really rich and I ate sushi a lot, I would probably miss it. But sushi is so rare now. I can never justify I can't go pay $50 tonight
for sushi. Yeah. Totally.
All right. Well, let's kill this sumbitch. And thanks for coming on. And thanks for making a good show. Thanks for being my friend.
Yeah.
Thanks for being my friend in the future, even after I do reprehensible stuff and get outed, and for backing me up on the...
Thank you for being a positive force in the world, Ramin. I think you put out interesting art, and I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Can I put that as a quote on my book? It says interesting in quotes, and it says Matt Ingebretson.
Yeah, I'll put it. Yeah. I'll write a whole fucking paragraph for the back of your book.
All right. Well, this has been the podcast, and good night, and that's it.